All right, let's do this. This chart reading is for Wednesday, May 15th, 1996 at 4:40 p.m. in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this is actually a chart that I've already read before, but I've sort of brushed up on my astrology a lot since then, since a few months ago when I read this. And because this chart has Libra rising, it threw me off a lot. If you're into astrology, you might be able to figure out why. It's because of the house system. Um, it's just because my awareness of the houses wasn't as good as it is now. Um, and yeah, because if you're using like typical like modern astrology, if you're just using like first house equals Aries, second house equals Taurus, it gives you a really limited understanding of the houses, and especially when someone has Libra rising, it sort of flips everything upside down. So like, if you're into astrology, you'll understand what I'm saying. But if not, I'll just continue on because it doesn't really matter. The point is, I'm hoping to give a lot better of a reading now, a lot more accurate because once you understand the houses in more detail, to see what they actually represent, chart reading becomes a lot more nuanced and fulfilling. Okay, so just general parts of your personality. You have Libra rising, Taurus sun, and Taurus moon. You were born right before a new moon, and you have a stellium in Taurus, which means you have, a group of planets in Taurus. So you have Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Moon in Taurus. But because your big three, your Sun, Moon, and Rising are all ruled by Venus, there's a huge Venusian focus on your chart and your personality. So what that means is, so your Sun and Moon are both Taurus. Your rising is Libra. Both Taurus and Libra are ruled by Venus, which means they sort of embody the characteristics of that planet. Um, so you have an abundance of Venus energy, and likewise, the energy which opposes but complements Venus is Mars, and your Mars is in detriment in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus again. So the space that Mars is in, Mars isn't very happy, but it's sort of ruled over by Venus. So what that means is, again, you embody Venus characteristics, and what those would be is basically saying, well, first let me say there's many pros and cons to having such a focus on one like energy or one archetype. The pros of having a Venus type personality would be that you would be very attractive, and not only would you be physically attractive, most likely, but you'd also have an attractive personality. And I'm not just flattering you. There's definitely cons to this type of personality as well. But you you're attractive in the sense that you're just easygoing and easy to get along with. You're easy to relate to. People find it easy to get along with you, and you find it easy to get along with people. You're just generally very easygoing, polite but fun personality, and one that's attractive for many different kinds of people. Um, that's the main plus side. The con would be that again you're very easygoing, so sometimes it can be hard for you to sort of assert yourself when you differ from the group or from other people. Like most of the time, you would be happy just going along with other people, but especially early in life, you might be a little bit of a pushover or have trouble like being too nice at times. Um, Not being able to assert yourself with boundaries and stuff. Speaking of boundaries, your Saturn is direct, so and you're a Taurus. So I mean, in some senses, you do have a firm idea of who you are, but you're more set on just being agreeable and being a peacemaker of sorts, and that works most of the time. But there are certain situations where you might differ from others, and then it's less natural for you in those areas. That would be an area that would be maybe more difficult. Um, and in general, you have Saturn in Aries, so you're very critical of yourself. And again, that's something which early in life you might have trouble with. You might be kind of down on yourself, or again, combining that with the Venus personality, you might have trouble asserting yourself or have sort of lack self worth. But because of that, you have very high standards for yourself, and so you expect a lot out of yourself, and it's something that takes time. But as you grow and mature, and as you enter later stages of life, It's very anything Saturn is rewarding. So since Saturn is in the sign, which sort of has to do with yourself and your self image, you become very confident later in life, basically, or you're having those high standards for yourself is very difficult in the short term when you're younger, but in the long term, you just have to push yourself that much farther to be successful and to be a whole person, if that makes sense. So your personality in general, things get a lot easier for you later in life. You have North Node conjunct your ascendant to the degree, and South Node conjunct the descendant. So this is like a very beneficial or positive placement because it means that you don't really have to grow as much in this lifetime as maybe other people do. Like you start off um, being already a lot of what you're sort of meant to be in this life. So it's not that um, you can always grow and learn from life, obviously, but this isn't a lifetime where you're expected to change a whole lot or grow a whole lot. You already have a lot of what you're meant to be, just like naturally. And so it's kind of like I think of it as like kind of a free pass on that aspect because depending on if the nodes were positioned differently, they can actually be really difficult, but they're very easy in your chart. So it doesn't mean your life is going to be totally easy, but that does generally make things a lot more easy to be positive. And it also means that this kind of reinforces something that I was saying earlier, but you would find it easy to begin relationships, or you find social situations easy. It's easy for you to get along socially, if that makes sense, or to understand people and get along with people. What else you have? So your Sun and Mercury, your Mercury's retrograde. So people born with Mercury retrograde are a minority of the population. I think it's like 20%. But you kind of you might think a little bit differently than other people. You have a huge focus on Taurus, which is sort of a more conventional sign. Like you would find it easy to get along with people partially because you only believe in what is like tangible or what is easily provable. What is like things have to make sense to you. You don't just get lost in like crazy ideas and stuff. Things, you definitely don't mind simplicity. And if something works, you're just gonna keep doing it. And you could be kind of stubborn because, like I said, things have to make sense to you for you to do it. They have to be realistic, and you're sort of a realistic, down to earth kind of person. But something I was saying is Mercury. Oh, okay. So in general, that's part of why it's easy for you socially is because your values and beliefs and attitudes sort of match up with what is sort of conventional or what is widely approved of. However, because you have Mercury retrograde, you can also you do think a little bit differently, and you can be a little bit intuitive at times or understand maybe certain parts of reality that other people don't understand as well. So that's kind of cool because you get the best of both worlds a little bit. Um, let's see. Yeah, Mercury retrograde kind of makes people quirky, makes them have sort of different opinions, or more counterculture opinions, or makes you sort of have like a premonition sense. Like Mercury retrograde, people can watch a movie and already understand what's going to happen later because it's almost like you think kind of backwards. And I don't totally understand it because I don't have Mercury retrograde, but I've known a lot of people that have that, and they can almost like they can see what's going to happen with the situation before it even happens, or they can look at like a machine and just see in their mind like the different parts and like almost break it apart in their mind because you where other people would think linearly or think forward, you kind of think in like tangents or which and that this is sort of against you are mostly Taurus, and Taurus is very linear, but you also have that aspect of you where you can sort of go into these tangents and these other little sidetracks of more unusual aspects of reality, I guess. Um, and you have Moon's exalted in Taurus, so emotionally in general, you're just very grounded, and you are So the moon represents your emotions and your emotional identity, your the core of your personality. And the reason why it does so well in Taurus is because you are like empathetic and care about others naturally, but you also do like Taurus is a very stubborn sign, and that stubbornness sort of allows you to know yourself and to know your limits like, naturally pretty well. So that combination of empathizing with other people and being nurturing at times, but also keeping your boundaries and knowing your limits is sort of very healthy emotionally. So in general, that's kind of the best placement for the moon. So in general, your emotions are very healthy, if that makes sense, just generally. Sun and Mercury are in eighth house though, so that again, so now I'm noticing a pattern where, on the one hand, you can be very conventional. You don't mind following the rules. It's easy for you to be accepted in society, to go along with the traditions or the rules of your culture. It's easy for you to fit in. It's easy for you to go along with the mainstream culture, mainstream opinions, mainstream ways of socializing, stuff like that. However, at the same time, you are very open minded and you do have a quirky side, and you have Mars in detriment too. So when you do find situations where you have to assert yourself, you might assert yourself in ways which are provocative or unusual or unexpected, or you might fight for someone or something that is maybe the underdog, or something not accepted by society. So I'm noticing these two sort of contrasting themes that are both in you, the conventional and the unconventional. And that's the theme I've noticed too with since you have Sun and Moon both in Taurus, Sun and Moon are both in an Earth sign, and when you have a lot of earthy energy, I've noticed that theme with earthy personalities too. That you maybe seem very conventional and very like normal, but then you also have a side to you that's more unusual, or something under the surface that people wouldn't expect, where you get kind of like freaky in different ways, or you have a more like wild side to you, if that makes sense. Okay, and yeah, and I guess going along with that theme, like I said, Sun, Moon, and Rising, as well as Mars and Mercury, are all ruled by Venus. So Venus is like what's in charge of your whole chart, basically, and Venus is in ninth house Gemini. So the main focus, like that placement suggests that you would be very curious, very open minded, very you would want to talk to people who might be have different backgrounds than you, who are from different places or just grew up in a different socioeconomic situation, or or just try different things, try new things, go to new places. Uh, okay, and then this is sort of contradictory, but the Taurus side of you, you are very Taurus. So like I said, there is that sort of healthy skepticism or that cynicism where you might see something strange and kind of turn it down. But at the same time, another part of you is attracted to weird things, or attracted to new experiences or unusual experiences, unusual people, or, different opinions and stuff. So both of those things, I don't know how to say it without contradicting myself, because both of those are very contradictory, but both are very valid within you. And you would be the most attractive and find the things that you are most attracted to when you are more open and more curious, more playful, more experimental, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like the core of your personality is more on the conventional side, but deep down or in these other aspects, you do have a more wild, curious, experimental side to you. Okay, what else? You have Jupiter conjunct the IC, so that makes me think that but then your IC is in Capricorn, so so that's kind of contradictory too, because your childhood might have been sort of strict in some ways. Let me see where and then your South Node is in Aries. So, I mean, it looks to me like you grew up with material wealth because your moon is in Taurus, which is Earth, your IC is in Capricorn, and then Jupiter is conjunct your IC. So, like, your home life and where you come from is has Jupiter on it, so like it would be a place of abundance. So like I want to say growing up you grew up maybe with wealthy parents or a wealthy background, financially. It might have been difficult in other areas, like maybe it wasn't emotionally nurturing or something like that, because of the Capricorn emphasis, or maybe it was, overly focused on materials, like material wealth, but not emotional, something like that. That's kind of what I would speculate. You also have South Node in Aries, so that to me would suggest, usually but not always, a child who's very outgoing and has like is very stubborn and doesn't want to always listen to the rules, sort of. Even though that kind of contrasts with the Taurus. Taurus is usually fine going with the status quo, but South Node Aries, yeah, suggests that you have a sort of independent streak that might have been more prominent in your early childhood. But yeah, Jupiter conjunct the IC in Capricorn. That to me says that you have this attitude that is very deep within you that comes from your childhood and your upbringing, where you're a hard worker. Earth signs are hard workers, and you're not one to like use other people, or that's not really what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is like your success, you build your own success. Like everything that you have in life, you've created, you've worked for. You're very independent, very independent, um, very self-sufficient kind of. And like to me, Jupiter conjunct IC says that like you might have a very large house, or just a home that's very fulfilling to you in some way, either large or valuable in some other sense. Like maybe it's just a really cool place to live in, but it's something that you create on your own that you had to work to achieve, sort of. Okay, and then you have midheaven in Cancer, which suggests midheaven is like your career, and Cancer is the sign of home and family. So like that suggests either working in your own home or working in other people's homes, working like being an interior designer of sorts, or like an architect where you're designing people's homes, or um, what are other jobs that you're working at home? I don't know. Uh, I mean, certain kinds of like counselors or something, I guess, work in other people's homes. I'm just kind of drawing a blank, or like a homemaker. It would be one example, but like um, something having to do with either building homes, working in homes, um, or it could be more emotional. But usually it's like interior designing or something like that. That's yeah, and it's ruled by the moon, which is in Taurus. So your career would be very profitable for you. I think in general you would be, since you're a hard worker and you have an easygoing, attractive personality. Um, you do have like consistent wealth in life, I would say, and your midheaven is ruled by the moon, which is in Taurus. So yeah, what you do in life will bring you wealth, like for sure. I don't think you grew up poor, and I don't think you'd like be poor at any time in your life. Like you seem like you have consistent wealth in your life for the most part. Maybe, I don't know. And what else? Let me look at some house cusp rulerships. Your second house is ruled by Jupiter and Capricorn. Sixth house is ruled by Mars and Taurus. So there's a huge focus on Earth for you. So whatever your job is, you're doing something physical, which I guess doesn't really narrow it down quite a bit. But you're not going to be working with something intangible. Like you're probably not going to be working a job that is dependent on like communication or words or ideas. It's something where you're providing a physical service. It's where you're building something for someone, or maybe designing something for someone, but it's something where you're producing something physical, or providing a physical service or a physical good. And I know that, again, that doesn't narrow it down very much, but that I see that pretty strongly in your chart. And I do think you'd be successful at whatever it is, and make good money, because money is the earth topic, and all your money houses are ruled by earth, which again is like natural wealth anyway. So I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, working with physical goods, physical services. You have Chiron in the 12th house, so that makes me want to say that if you do have like wounds or traumas in life, that you sort of hide them. Sometimes they might not even be visible to you. You might have subconscious or unconscious traumas, and or just emotional issues that you kind of bury. Um, or they're somehow they're like obscure to you, or it's hard to even access them for some reason. I don't know if that makes sense at all. Okay, I keep contradicting myself. Pluto in the second house suggests sort of turbulent finances, so, or reinventing your finances multiple times throughout your life. Um, Uranus in the fourth house Aquarius suggests that you might move very far, very spontaneously, multiple times in your life. So whenever that gets transited, actually that's gonna be aspected early next year. So I'm kind of cheating, I guess, because you already told me that you're thinking about moving next year. But that to me suggests like next year, Jupiter and Saturn are gonna go over your Uranus placement in at 4 degrees Aquarius. So you know, whenever planets aspect that point in your chart, you might spontaneously move far away across the country, something like that. Not like down the block or not 30 miles away or something. You'd be moving large distances. You also have Saturn in the sixth house. So if you're ever a business owner, you would probably have trouble with your employees. So if you're ever a business owner, I would suggest to have very few employees. Either just work alone or have people that you trust a lot to work under you, because you would have problems with that. But I know you're not a business owner, so that's probably not very useful. You have Moon in seventh house and Mars in seventh house, so you might sort of figure yourself out through other people, or feel more at home when you're with other people, um, or you might feel more at home in a relationship or something like that. With other people in general, or you might feel most at home, most comfortable, like you know yourself the most through other people, if that makes sense. Okay, I talked about pretty much everything, but I didn't talk about relationships. You, in general, okay, so for long term compatibility, you need to be with someone who's more outgoing than you are, someone who's more fiery. You don't have a lot of fire in your chart, so you would be attracted to fiery personalities for sure. Because when you lack an element within yourself, you attract that in other people. So that's why you're attracted to fire, but also because your ascendant is Libra, the opposite of that is Aries. So you're attracted to people who are like Aries. So maybe either someone who literally has a sun sign in Aries, or just someone who embodies Aries like traits. So someone who is independent, fiery, confident, outgoing, someone who speaks their mind, someone maybe kind of blunt. You'd be attracted to that and actually need something like that in the long term. Someone passionate, fiery. Um, Other than that, you have Mars in Taurus and Venus in Gemini. So you're very earthy and very airy. So Earth is like, down to earth, practical, realistic, responsible, hardworking, more focused on physical reality. Air is more social, it's more chatty or intellectual. It thinks a lot, it's more about ideas, and it's more of a mental energy. Both of those describe you, because you're mostly earthy, but you're also very airy. So you're mostly, the down to earth, grounded personality. But because you have Venus in Gemini and Mars in Aquarius, you're attracted to people who are like that as well. Venus in Gemini could make you a little bit of a slut in a way, because um, you desire what's the word? You desire versatility and like I'm totally spacing the word, but you need like a multifaceted person if you're gonna be in a monogamous relationship. You need someone who is dynamic, and that's why it would be satisfying being with multiple people, because you like new things. You're attracted to new things, new people, new ideas. Maybe just one person who has many different sides to them, or many different like aspects of them, or multiple people, something like that. But you need a variety. I think that's the word. Or yeah, you're attracted. Variety sort of is what you're attracted to and what stimulates you. Mars and Taurus. So you'd also be attracted to someone grounded. Um, Yeah, someone grounded like you, but with a multifaceted aspect to their personality. Um, I mean, okay, that's pretty much all I see right now. So hopefully that is enlightening. Um, Venus, Mercury, Mars, Moon. You have part of fortune in Virgo. That's kind of a small thing that most people overlook, but it would suggest that you would have success in reading, writing, something intellectual, something about learning, something about, or teaching, something, or working with details like accounting, something like that. You'd be good with money for sure. There's so much earth in your chart. So you're good at finances, you're good at being responsible, you're good at, um, just handling like mundane reality. That's a piece of cake for you. Um, your your Saturn return. So when you're 28, 29, 30, you're gonna have some sort of crisis involving your identity, sort of. But afterward, your identity will be much stronger, and you'll be much more confident going into your 30s. Um, and you have right now, just talking about transits. Uranus is going through Taurus, so it's gonna pass your Moon, and then Mars, and then Mercury, and then Sun. And that's been going on since like for all of last year, and it will continue to go on for the next several years. So you're in the middle of a time where you're transforming a lot, you're changing a lot, and it's sort of unpredictable. For the last couple of years and the next several years, you might have times where you have a lot of epiphanies or realizations or sudden changes, sudden unpredicted changes in your personality, and these are very shocking to you because in general your personality is very consistent. In general, you are kind of predictable. You're, a more consistent personality and you know yourself very well. So it could be challenging and shocking, but also in the end rewarding during this whole phase when you experience these like rapid, unpredicted shifts in your personality. And again, it's not going to be consistent changes. It's going to be like you might be one way for a little while and then just suddenly shift or suddenly have a realization or suddenly be different. Moving might be part of it because that I do see that you might move next year. That could be part of it, but different changes within your psyche, within your personality, would be common for this general phase of your life right now. Okay, so that's all I see really. Yeah, I could get more into like technical things, but I don't think that's really necessary. So hopefully that was a good chart reading, and let me know what you think. Okay, bye.